So I wanted to start this video out with a cool picture. This is a 2015 Mustang 5.0, also known as a Coyote Mustang, and it was for sale at the local Ford dealership when it was brand new, and it was competition orange, same color as my Cobra. So they had brought back competition orange for the Boss 302 in 2011, and then they actually did make it again in 2015 for the Mustangs, whether it was an EcoBoost or a Coyote or whatever. Even a GT350 was offered in that color, and so it was pretty cool to see. So I had to go get my Cobra and bring it and park it next to it and compare the colors, and they were identical. It was cool to park next to a new Mustang and then look over and see what I love, the 03, 04 Cobra, which to me is still the best Mustang ever made. Now, I'm not saying best as in it's not the best handling or maybe even the best performance, although it is a pretty good platform. But to me, I just love the New Edge Mustangs, and so I'm so happy to have this car. And I'm very aware that at this time I'm looking around at new Mustangs, and I can consider if I wanted to sell mine and buy something newer. But I absolutely love the 04 Cobra. This was the car I really wanted. It's the color I wanted. Everything was beautiful about this car. Low mileage, condition was great, and just seeing that beautiful competition orange on a nice sunset evening was fantastic. I remember coming out here, we took the car to Walmart, and we came out to the car, and this is what it looked like, just parked there against the back. And there's so many times I wish I could just capture it better than what it comes out as on camera. You really have to see this car in person to appreciate the color. It is so cool. So I needed to do a little maintenance on the car. I was driving it around and I could hear a little bit of a squeaking, and so it sounded like it was coming from the rear end. I went out with my brother, we took our Cobras for a drive, and then we went to a nice place where we could really hear it, and he walked next to the car as I drove, and you could hear just a little chirp squeaking from the rear spindle, and so it was the knuckle bearing for the independent rear suspension. And I looked into how to repair it, and you really had to do a lot to rebuild it. You had to have like a press and all these things, and so I just went ahead and ordered a new rebuilt knuckle. It's not a new part, but it's basically like a program where you send your knuckle in, and then Full Tilt Boogie Racing would rebuild it, and then they send you another one that's already been rebuilt. And so I did that, and the turnaround time was pretty quick because it was already ready to go. I just had to order it and then send my other one in for credit, and so that worked out nicely. I had to get a 36 millimeter socket, which was pretty big, to tighten and torque down the axle nuts. Now these axle nuts need to be torqued down every so often, because if they come loose, then it can mess up that bearing. I've even heard people say that they should be torqued down after each trip to the drag strip or the racetrack if you're road racing it or whatever. So it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Something that I'd rather probably just have a solid axle under there. To me, it doesn't really mean much that the Cobras came with the independent rear suspension, but a lot of people love it because it does. Now, the independent rear suspension makes it so the exhaust catback goes underneath the control arms there, and so you can see that when you're driving down the road. And in the case of this Mack catback, you can see this ugly black piping of kind of pot metal. Just, it did not look good at all. And so that was something I really wanted to address, because when you have one of these Cobras, you really see that catback. I'll throw a little sneak peek into what mine's going to look like here when I get done with it. Yeah, you definitely cannot go wrong with this boreless Stinger catback, and I put a lot of work into that, and that'll be in another video. But that's kind of the surprise. I mean, it's not a surprise if you followed the channel, because you know more about the Cobra already. But as far as the history of the car is concerned, at this point, it still had the Mack catback on it, which I thought was kind of ugly. But I love driving this car out on the road. Look at this beautiful day. Look at the rocks on the road. The chip seal is what they call this type of surface road, and it's basically tarred and then graveled, and the gravel sticks in it, and then it just turns into a road. But it makes it so there's lots of little shadows, and it's kind of cool to see at the right time of day. The only problem with doing the road this way is when they do it initially, there's tons of extra gravel everywhere, and cars are driving through it. It's creating light dust clouds of road dust, rocks and gravel, and it throws rocks all over your windshield or your car. There are people who get their windshields broken from this, and the city continues to do it this way. Not on all the roads, but on a lot of the roads they do it that way. And so if there's a road that's been recently chip sealed, I'll stay off of it. There actually was a time where I pulled onto a road once with the Mach 1, my blue one, and my friend was in his red Mach 1, and we were all cruising together, and we had no choice but to go down it, and a dump truck went blasting by the other way, and it threw a rock on the side and chipped the door on my Mach 1. So that's a really unfortunate thing. So trying to stay away from it. But when enough cars go over it, you know, all the rocks get thrown to the side, and there's actually big piles going down the road, and they'll scoop those all up with, you know, little bulldozers and little skidsters and stuff. And so anyway, it's just kind of the way the road is around here. So it's just a nice time to drive the car around. I mean, this is a little capture of 31,000 miles, so you know, putting a little bit of mileage on the car, but still enjoying it. Beautiful time of day, and this section of the road is all new and nice, and I really like it out here. This is one of the fun places to drive, and back when I was driving the Cobra around here, it was actually less busy out here, but now they've put a few home divisions out here, so there are a lot of people driving up and down this section of the highway. It used to be a pretty good place to come open it up and no one would be around. But now we've noticed when we come out here with our friends, it seems like there's always somebody coming up and down the road. So it was cool to have the Cobra, the Mach 1, and the Bullet, or the GT, I guess you would say, the three different trims of the V8 Mustangs at this point. And I really enjoyed taking the Cobra out with my family. We could all still fit in it at this point. Even if we had car seats, we'd have to put in there. And, you know, we'd put a really nice pad down so that they wouldn't gouge into the seat or anything. And we would take the Cobra and go for a drive over here by the lake. You can see in the background there, in a beautiful spot. Just loved this area. This is probably my favorite drive. And we would take it out to dinner and cruise down this road. And I just always had to stop and get out and take a picture. And, you know, there wasn't an Instagram, or I wasn't even making YouTube videos or anything back then, so I was lucky to actually get these pictures. Now I always get video of cruising around and stuff like this, and you might have seen some of the videos of my brother and me driving around here in our Cobras and some of the other Mustangs, the Mach 1s, and we've gone on some car club meets and cruises in this area, and we've put it up on YouTube, and they're very wonderful pictures, and they've actually even redone some of the road around here, which was perfectly nice, but they've made it even bigger and wider and everything. And so it's a really cool place to go, and we just loved taking the Cobra there and just driving it around. This is why you buy the car, to take it out and enjoy it and have fun and just enjoy being in the car that you love. For a long time I had these pictures on my work computer. They would cycle through as I was working, and so I could look up and study little things about the pictures, and I was just always like, oh man, that is such a good looking car, or oh, that color is just perfect. It was just, I love seeing these pictures and taking the time to actually look at them and look at the detail. I was very excited to have this car. So there's still much more to come, but this is it for the update of the car. This section of the history of the car. I got that knuckle rebuilt, and it was good to have full tilt boogie racing do it because I just didn't have the tools and the patience to do that one, so it was just worth it to do it. And so I noticed now that I think the price is double what it used to be, so I'm glad I got it done when I did. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more parts of the story of this competition Orange Terminator Cobra and more Mustang content.